Hey friends, it's Laura with Laura B. Flosstube. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome back. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who subscribed to my channel. I'm up to almost like 2,850 people at this point, which is amazing. I can't believe how much the channel has grown in a short amount of time. And to be quite honest, I was shocked when I looked because I know that I was kind of like stuck at like 27.96 for what seemed like weeks. And to be quite honest, I hadn't put any new content out. So obviously content helps bring people in. So hopefully I'm getting back on track now. I really don't have that much to share with you today, but I wanted to give you an update of where I'm at and some plans that I have and just kind of touch base. So let's just jump right in. First off, I want to share with you, I mentioned in the last Flosstube that I am focusing this month, or well, actually it was in July, this is August. I was focusing in July on Autumn Love, and I'm going to continue to do that into August until it's done. I am so close, you guys. So if you don't know which stitch I'm talking about, it's the Lori Holt Autumn Love stitch. This does match one of her quilts that she did a sew along for, several years ago. And I made the quilt about a year ago. I finished it at retreat. So this is the cross stitch that matches, and I love it so much. I love the quilt and I love the cross stitch, and it's just so cute. So let me show you how much I've completed. And you know, I haven't worked a ton, but I've worked enough that I definitely have some progress to share. All right, so this is where I'm at. So I don't have that much more, you guys. I mean, look at that. Now, I will tell you the same thing is happening with the cross stitch as did the quilt, is that this big section down here is going to have a lot of work in it. I just remember when I got to that section in the quilt, the little applique leaves, there were like 60 leaves or something ridiculous. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna finish turning leaves. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna finish stitching leaves. But it is almost done. So I have just 1, 2, 3, this big block, and just the rest of the milk can over here for the corn, which I think is super cute, right? All right, so I'm gonna give you a close up a little bit better. I, for the most part, have stuck to the called for colors. I did, if you've been following me for a while, you will possibly remember that I did stitch the house in the wrong color, but I like it, you guys. I mean, I'm fine with it. And I wasn't gonna unpick all those stitches. I mean, can you imagine? Oh my gosh, that'd be ridiculous. So I am moving right along. And just to give you some perspective, which I did this for my husband the other night, just to give you some perspective of how much work and how many stitches are in this, each one of these stars has 97 stitches or 97 complete X's in it. So all of those stars, 97 each. If you think about that for a minute, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is quite a large stitch, but I am so excited. I think I'm going to have it finished in August, which is perfect because I'll want to put up my Autumn Love quilt in probably September, late September, early October. And then I can hang this in the living room as well, and they can be together, and it'll be amazing. So excited about this. All right. So that is, like I said, what I've been working on primarily. And you know, just balancing work and life and stitching. And so probably not putting in quite as much time with my cross stitch lately. But you know, summer kind of gets to you after a while. So it's getting there, right? And that's all that really matters. I've also kind of decided to, and I was telling my husband about this with my quilts and stitching, I'm just being a little more selective of what I do. So I'm just like, you know, I love all the stitch alongs that are going on. I think there's several of them that are super cute. If you haven't seen the Stitch On to Me Kingdoms of Life stitch along, now that they've released, I think, all of the patterns at this point, it is so cute, you guys. I mean, I love it, and I love the science angle that they have put into it as well. But it's not something that I would probably hang in my house, and I don't have anyone that I would make it for. So I collected the patterns and I looked at it and I really appreciate the stitch along and I think that they've done an amazing job on it, but I'm probably not going to stitch it. And that's kind of where I'm at with many things these days. It's just like, well, if I don't have a purpose for it, then I'm not going to do it. Okay, so my next start, which is not started, I don't know when I will start it after I get Autumn Love completed. And you will probably remember that I do have a few other stitches that are kind of like in progress, but they're just gonna hang out for a while because I'm excited to get this one started. I want to do the 2023, oh my gosh, what year is it? The 2023 Prairie Schooler Santa. My husband actually saw a picture of this on Facebook. Someone had a picture posted and he's like, have you made that one? And I'm like, no, it's this year's. He's like, well, why haven't you done it? And I'm like, it's this year's. But anyway, he was like, you really need to do that one. I love that. So he has encouraged me to do this one. And I'm just out of respect and love for him, I suppose, I'm going to start this one next. So as soon as Autumn Love is done, I'm going to start working on this Santa. And I love all those snowflakes. I mean, people that know me closely know that snowmen and snowflakes are my jam when it comes to winter themes. So this is right up my alley. I love it so much and I cannot wait to get it stitched. I will be doing it on a 14 count Dirty Ada with probably the called for colors because I have been using all of the called for colors. Yep, all the called for colors for the Prairie Schoolers. And I've done probably 8 or 9 at this point, I think. Maybe a little bit more. I'm not sure. I posted about that a few Flosstubes ago. I don't remember because it's been a while since I grabbed the bag. But that is going to be my next up. For cross stitch. And so I'm excited about having a plan for that. That has helped me out tremendously. Okay, as far as quilting, I am ahead with Be Vintage. I've gotten 12 of the 20 blocks completed and I'll just flip this around so you can see where I'm at. Okay, so this is kind of a weird angle because the table is right there, but you can still see most of the quilt, so it's all good. So as I said, I have 12 of the 20 blocks completed. This week, the blocks were the top left. I think they called it a dahlia, and then also the cottage, which is on the 3rd row, 2nd block over. And I believe the other one was the flower basket on the 2nd row, 1st block. Loved all of these blocks. The only thing, and I had someone ask me in the last Flosstube how I dealt with all of the extra layers on applique blocks and like where to start. And my response to them was I usually start on the bottom layer. So like if you look at the cottage block, I stitched the pink house first. And then I went to the green bushes and then the door. Then I also went ahead and stitched the yellow for the window because the yellow is behind the red. So I kind of like flipped the edges of the red shutters up a little bit and stitched the yellow. Then I did all of the red because the chimneys are behind the roof and the roof was the last thing that I did on that block. So when you look at it, you might be thinking, and and honestly, I could have done the pink, the yellow, the red, the roof, the door, the bushes. I could have done them in a different order, but that was just the order I chose to stitch them in. So basically when I look at a block, I look at the layers and I kind of break it down in my head with just what's closest to the background, what's overlapping, because I use a small zigzag for my applique stitch. And I like to not have to backstitch. So I like to try to hide my starting and ending as much as possible. I mean, sometimes it's just not possible, especially when you get to the one on the forefront. But like if you look at the flower basket, on that one, I did the yellow first, and then I did the green because all of the green leaves are tucked in behind those flowers. And then I did I did the centers of each of the flowers just because I wanted to make sure those flowers were nice and flat. So if you sew down the middle first, then you're holding that outer layer down as well, and you're less likely to have a pucker when you do that middle. So I guess that's the one exception to the rule. When I'm doing flowers, I'll do the center first and then the outer petals. So, all right, so I did the yellow basket, green leaves, the centers of the 3 flowers, and then I did the pink flower, the purple flower, and finally the blue, or the tealish blue color flower. Now the dahlia block is the one that kind of gave a little bit of a problem, but only on one spot because all of those wedges overlap. So whichever one you start with, you're going to have to backstitch at some point to get the last one sewn down. So I just started with one of the wedges. I lifted up that center circle a little bit, started underneath the center circle, stitched out, lifted the wedge next to it to stitch under it, and just went around and progressed all the way around the dahlia like that. And then the green circle in the center was the last thing that I stitched on that one. So, I know that I would like to do a tutorial at some point to kind of explain how I break that down and how I go through that. And I do plan to do that fairly soon. It just didn't happen this week. So be watching for that in the next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, hopefully that just talking through those blocks a little bit kind of gave you some insight on how to break down your blocks and if you're machine appliquing. Now, if you're hand appliquing, I am not your girl. I am not the one to talk to because I do not do hand applique. But I will definitely help you with the machine applique. So this is Be Vintage. It's a Lori Holt quilt along that's going on right now. And as I said, 12 of the 20 blocks are done after this week. So there's, I guess, 8 blocks to go. So we have 3 more weeks to go. Only the dahlia block is out on her blog for this week. The flower basket and cottage will be posted on Wednesday and Friday respectively. And then she will move on next week. But I have the cutting guide, I have the shapes, and I've done several of her quilts. And I have the pictures of the blocks. So I just went ahead and got this week's done. And I may actually work ahead and get some of next week's blocks done as well. So that is kind of where Be Vintage is. And this is really the only quilt I've been working on. So yeah, I'm focusing on Autumn Love for the cross stitch. I'm focusing on Be Vintage for quilting. And that's about all I'm doing with craftiness. Obviously, I made a card, I guess, earlier this week or last week, but nothing too crazy or wild that's going on in the craft room right now. So in closing, I just want to say thank you again so much for watching and supporting my channel. I appreciate it if you would like the video and share it out with anyone that you feel would benefit from the content. And I will see you next time. Until then, happy stitching.